Corla, the Taoiseach, I'm sure, will have studied the assessment made by the International Monetary Fund, which concludes that Ireland will pay a higher price to restabilise its banks than any other country, and that the cost to the Irish taxpayer may be 24 billion, the biggest government bailout of banks of any developed country. And I'm sure the Taoiseach will have also seen the opinion piece written by Professor Krugman in the New York Times this week, where he warns other countries against following Ireland, the Irish government's example on the banks, which he described as an exercise in sacrificing the economy in order to save the banks. And I'm sure the Taoiseach will also have seen the opinion from 20 economists from a wide range of economic opinion and perspectives, differing ideological standpoints, in which they argue that the game is up for the Irish banks and that there is now an inevitability that the government will have to nationalise the banks, at least temporarily. So I want to ask the Taoiseach, first of all, does he agree with the assessment of the International Monetary Fund that our banking situation in terms of government bailout is now the worst in the developed world? Does he not consider that that is a damning verdict on his government's handling of the banking situation? And does he accept that the point has now been reached where it is necessary to nationalise the banks, at least temporarily, and what consideration has the government given to that matter? Well, Corla, I think that answer is a mixture of clutching at straws and denial. I mean, talking about the IMF, no matter how you spin this, Taoiseach, the IMF have used the same methodology in looking at the banking situation across all of the countries in the developed world, and they have come to the conclusion that the Irish bailout is going to be the most expensive on the taxpayers of the respective countries. And clutching at straws, saying that this figure is out or that figure is out or was in an earlier draft is neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is that we have moved now from a situation where on the 30th of September you told us that the guarantee would avoid a situation of having to nationalise a bank, would avoid a situation of having to put money into any bank. You've moved through a succession of attempts at dealing with the banking situation. You had an announced recapitalisation before Christmas, which didn't happen. You had the nationalisation of Anglo, that a very short time prior to the nationalisation of it, your minister was saying there wasn't going to be a nationalisation. You have a recapitalisation of two banks in the amount of 7 billion already. And one of those banks now say that they need an extra $1.5 billion. On top of that, you have come in and said that the bad debts of the banks now have to be all assembled in what is called the National Asset Management Agency. They're anything but national assets. This is on board bailout, where a body is being set up to assemble all of these bad debts. And meanwhile, opinion from a range of sources is saying to you that the game is up, that the banks in this country will have to be nationalised. The way in which they're nationalised varies. People have expressed differing opinions about that, whether it should be a temporary nationalisation and then they're resold at another stage, whether, for example, shares should be taken into some kind of a trust and protected so that there can be some possibility of recovery down the line. But we are staring, it seems to me, Taoiseach, at the prospect of the nationalisation of the banks. And what I'm trying to establish is, is the government going to nationalise the banks? Has it made a decision on this? Or are we going to find ourselves in a situation, as we have had repeatedly over the banks, where it's one government policy today and it's another government policy in 2 or 3 weeks' time?